Hi, this is Patrick Henry, the CEO of GroGuru, and I'm here today with my good friend Kylen Hunt. Kylen is really an agriculture industry veteran. He's done everything from kind of boots on the ground farming and farm management and variety of different things to selling irrigation equipment, irrigation monitoring. He's one of the pioneers and veterans in our space around soil moisture probes and irrigation monitoring. Kylen's been working with us in kind of a coaching role, training role, as well as helping us build our service provider network for GroGuru. And he's recently come on board as our Vice President of Business Development. So I just want to take some time to introduce Kylen to the group out there, to the audience out there, and let's get to know him a little bit better. So, Kylen, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, and why you got interested in GroGuru?
Perfect. Well, first of all, Patrick, it's a privilege and it's an honor to be a part of the team over the last several months as we've had opportunity to work together in a coaching space and in some of the training space. It's been exciting to get to know David a lot more in person and a couple of the other members of the team. So I'm really excited to be here. Just a quick background on me. Grew up in agriculture. That's really where I grew up, and grew up milking cows. And I always say that it was milking cows that got me excited about row crops. It kept me out of the barn. So I enjoyed learning how to do row crops from my grandfather. He was my number one mentor. He was actually an individual who became a very wealthy farmer in the 80s. And in the 80s is a really, really challenging time for agriculture. So I learned some amazing things from my grandfather. One of the main things I learned from him, though, is how to be a steward of the land. And he was a veteran of stewardship, clear back in the 50s. I mean, he bought his first farm when he was 14 years old, and he relied on that place to be supply for him and his family. So when we bought our first center pivot, it was in the early 80s when we bought our first pivot. And it was an opportunity for me to start learning from him about this resource of water. We had a few gravity fields at the time, but that center pivot really changed the game for us, especially being dairy farmers with our ability to grow more of our own food for our livestock. It was a great learn. So that's what really got me excited about getting into the row crop space. And then must have been in the early mid 90s, I started to hear about this precision ag industry, and it really began to intrigue me. So in the late 90s, early 2000s, I started involving myself with ag retail, started getting involved in precision ag groups, and started to learn about this technology. At the time, it was really just making tractors drive by themselves, right? That was the technology that I started learning from. And that drove me into looking at, variable rate technology, seeding, fertilizer, all the new stuff that was there 20, 30 years ago. But what was really interesting in 2009, I started analyzing yield data, because really what happened is I'm looking at all these different technologies out there. And the one thing that was missing was somebody who really, really enjoyed the analytics and could help the farmers make sense of data. So I started learning how to run analytics and learn how to look at data and make sense out of it. What was really interesting, as we analyzed about 300 yield maps every single year for about 3 years, it was water was our biggest limiting factor to both yield and profit 87% of the time. Wow. Now, at the time, we thought it was kind of a unique thing, but since I've started working with the University of Nebraska, working with groups in Kansas, we're finding out that 87% is pretty common. So that was exciting for me to be able to say, hey, there's something here. So that really drove me to get into the precision irrigation space in 2009, 2010. And at that time, I was just really building our own business, and Crop Metrics then asked me about 2011, 2012, if I'd be interested in coming in and working with them on their startup company. And what an amazing opportunity. And it was at that time I started to get to know David Sloan. We were competitors at the time, but it was a great opportunity to learn from David and to learn from others in this industry about the value of soil sensors, variable rate irrigation. Variable rate irrigation is actually where I started. But I learned that even with variable rate irrigation, if we don't schedule it right, we're still going to over irrigate unintentionally and cause problems. So that got me into soil sensors about 2012 and 13, and I haven't looked back. It's really been an amazing ride. And like you said, Patrick, I got in the early days with my boots in the field, started learning the sensors, and then since then we've been really focused on building businesses around water and water conservation. It's really what motivates me, is conserving water.
Yeah. So, I mean, you were at Crop Metrics for almost 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
They got sold to CropX, as many people know.
Yep.
You've seen a lot, you've done a lot, you've seen kind of the competitive landscape, you've seen the technologies that are out there. What got you initially excited about, working with GroGuru initially, in that kind of training, coaching capacity, and then the tipping point that really got you like, hey, I mean, you and I know the background, but for the audience, how did you come to the conclusion that this is something you really wanted to devote, your time and attention and talents to, as opposed to other things that you could do? I mean, you've got a big coaching business, you're a John Maxwell coach, you've got a variety of different things. You've helped a lot of entrepreneurs in the agriculture industry. And I mean, obviously we'll continue to do that here at GroGuru with our key partners. But give me a little bit of insight into your thought process and, what makes you excited about GroGuru.
Yeah. GroGuru is not only an opportunity for me personally to build something great. I think there's some tremendous entrepreneurs that you're already working with. I know we're going to work with some more as we continue our recruiting efforts. But really, more than anything, that really drew me into the company, Patrick, is the vision that you have, the vision that David has for long-term water solutions, a focus on changing the hardware, challenging the status quo in the hardware space, bringing in software technology that can really ramp up and truly be adoptable. That's been one of the challenges in the industry, is creating a system between hardware and software that's truly adoptable and adoptable for the long term, something that farmers can truly get their hands wrapped around for the long term. That's been a challenge this industry has had. And a lot of it is water is extremely emotional. It's a very, very emotional subject with farmers. So we have to create systems that they can trust, and they can trust very quickly. And that was one of the things that I learned, the first time I met you and had a chance to sit down with you and David Sloan to get a little more understanding of what GroGuru's focus is and the vision. And that started getting me fairly intrigued. And that's what drew me into a coach with you guys and to just learn more about your system. But as I started to hear more about the consistency of long-term data, when David showed me, I had a chance to just sit down with me and go through some of those probes that have been in the ground for 4 years, that really started to pique my interest in regenerative agriculture. What can we do with these types of sensors long-term that go beyond just water management? I mean, water is still the focus. It's still a big, big, important factor to all of us in agriculture. However, with that sensor in the ground for multiple years in a row, there's so much more I think we can glean from that. A lot of it we haven't even begun to understand yet, but I think the future is extremely bright with that. And that's what gets me excited about helping you and the rest of the team build a network here that's truly sustainable for agriculture, that's sustainable for all of us in our whole country, in our whole world. Because if we can get systems in the ground where we're managing things all year long, not just in season, we're just going to be better at what we're doing. And that really attracted me to GroGuru and to what you guys are planning and the vision that you have.
Yeah, it's really interesting. obviously you've been in the agriculture and the precision agriculture industry your whole career. You know,
Mhm.
I'm a newer person to it. I've been doing it now for 5 years, full time for 4 years, and have built a lot of great relationships. And I'm always learning new stuff. I mean, one of the most interesting things for me is kind of interacting with our farmers who, I mean, they're just not only salt of the earth people, they're just incredibly bright, you know, incredible business people. I mean, farming is tough, very challenging business, and they're just very insightful, very practical, very down to earth, just amazing customers to work with. But at any rate, you know, one of the things I was talking to a variety of our farmers about is just the whole idea of sustainable agriculture. And, you know, no matter what incentives, you know, farmers have to make money. I mean, this is a tough business. But as it turns out, a lot of things that we would consider as sustainable practices, as you said, being good stewards of the land, actually help you be more profitable. So it's things like moving to no-till, you know, having proper crop rotations, you know, crops, you know, basically all of those things helping sequester more carbon in the soil, helping the soil be able to hold more water, helping the soil be able to get the fertilizer in the right place in the root zone, being able to use less fertilizer. So, I mean, talk to me a little bit about that. You've been doing a lot of things in regenerative ag, and for our audience, you know, regenerative ag is even better than sustainability, because sustainability is like use our resources in a more efficient way. Regenerative ag actually adds things back to the system to make them better over time, and kind of tie that in for us with, you know, what GroGuru is doing, permitted install, and, you know, multi-year data sets, and what we're doing with our machine learning algorithms.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think you said it right. Our farmers are so foundational. In fact, I call our farmers the foundation of the nation.
Yeah.
And that's really the way I look at it. They're the foundation of our nation. And when individuals like you and I get the opportunity to create something to serve the farmer, we're serving all the people. We're strengthening the foundation of this nation. And that is really, I think it has to be the focus of everybody in ag tech. I know for myself, like you said, I've done a lot with variable rate fertilizer and this and that and the other. We're very fortunate because we do work in water. Water's the one tool, the one resource that in season we can actually manage more with water in season than we can with anything else. Pre-season is when you do your variable rate technologies for seed and fertilizer, but in season, water's the game, water's the player. Now, what I like about what GroGurus bringing to the table with the vision that you guys have, the concept of regenerative agriculture, we look at it as being something new, but it's actually going back to the basics. It's going back to what was understood a couple hundred years ago. And that's using, you know, the resources that God gave us that are just in our soil, in our land, using those resources to the greatest potential. And what I'm really seeing in the regenerative ag space and in the precision space for sustainability, for example, when I talk about precision agriculture, you have to look at precision as being something precise. The dictionary definition is precise, exact, and very accurate, right? When you look at sustainability, it's something that we have to be able to do repeatably and get an expected result. Okay. So if we're going to look at something to be precise, exact, and very accurate, and we're going to make decisions and get an expected result, we have to have data integrity. We just have to have data integrity. So the long-term approach that I'm seeing with GroGuru's approach to water management and actually, you know, precision management in general, having that sensor in the ground consistently for long-term periods of time, that allows us to bring in quality, high quality data with multiple crops. And in the world of regenerative agriculture, that long-term data is going to give us the ability to watch soils improve or watch soils decline. If we're making poor decisions, we're going to see soil structures, soil water holding capacities, things of that nature. We're going to see those decline if we're making poor decisions. If we're making good decisions and we're making good rotational decisions, we're making good cover cropping decisions, tillage decisions, those decisions that we're making, we're going to see an improvement in those soil profiles. And that's what really, it's one of the big reasons, going back to your last question, why do I want to be here? I think that's a lot of it. We're going to be able to see things in the future with this technology that I personally, in 20 years of being in precision agriculture, I've personally not been able to see those things. So these tools, these resources are going to give us the ability to see below the surface like we've never seen before. And that long-term data integrity is going to give us confidence that we're doing the right things for the right reasons. And that's extremely exciting for me. And I can only imagine, as we continue to help farmers make those better decisions, that we are doing our part again to strengthen that foundation in this nation. And that's, I think, going to be very, very important for all of us as we move forward. Our farmers, our communities, our small communities. It's important to everybody that's going to sit down and eat a meal tonight.
Absolutely. I mean, that's, at the very big picture level, that's what got me initially excited about GroGuru. I mean, I've spent my career, helping people watch more and being able to help in a way that's has a global impact, where literally if there's not enough fresh water and there's not enough nutritious food, we can't live. And
Right.
sustaining our planet, making it regenerative, so that we have a very good planet, not only for our kids, but for our grandkids and our great grandkids, and that we can kind of perpetuate that. It's exciting. I love it. I love working with our farmers, and I love working with our team. And I'm just grateful to have you part of it, Kylen. It's really, really awesome to have you on board. So that's
it's exciting.
all the time we have. Go ahead, Kylen.
I say it's exciting to be here. The opportunity to work with you, you and I have only known each other now a year and a half or so. But David Sloan, I've known him for a long time, had the greatest respect for him for so many years. And the opportunity to work with him it's really a dream come true. And to work with David and then have the opportunity to work with such an amazing system with a great vision just makes it even better. So it's just super exciting to be here, Patrick.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Kylen. That's about all the time we got. I'm sure we will have a time to chat again with our audience out there. And we are raising money on WeFunder. So if you get a chance, take a look at that. WeFunder.com/GroGuru.